So I grew up in the church, Pentecostal church. My mom was a Pentecostal preacher. I was dedicated, whenever I was a baby. I grew up running the pews, the halls, all that good stuff while my mom was preaching until I was about 16 years old. And some stuff happened in the church that I wasn't very fond of, and I promised myself I would never step foot back into a church until I was 26. And then I found a church and I stepped foot back into it, and God really started working in my life whenever I was 26 years old. I have always struggled with mental health issues. I tried to commit suicide whenever I was 13, again whenever I was 16, and then again whenever I was 22. Whenever I was 26, I was almost to that point again. I was going through the biggest heartbreak I'd ever gone through in my entire life. It was very, very isolating, very sad. It was the first time I'd really ever fallen in love with anybody, and they didn't reciprocate the feelings. And that was kind of the turning point for me. I was just like, I felt like I wasn't good enough. Like I didn't matter in a sense. I was just very isolated, very scared, because I knew I could feel myself getting back to that point in my life where I was like, I don't want to be here anymore. My mental health was drastically declining. I was using substances, I was drinking alcohol, I was doing all that stuff. There'd be Sundays whenever I would go to church and I'd be still drunk or sometimes hungover. And, don't get me wrong, I still belonged in church. I still belonged there. Jesus still loved me, but I was just living that lukewarm life. And so I was scrolling Facebook one day, like I always do. And, I was sad, posting all those sad statuses and all that good stuff. And then I saw a post for the Threshing Floor, and I had no idea what it was. I was like, well, this sounds interesting. It's at New Point in Canton, and that's kind of close to me. So I decided I wanted to go, and I took my dad with me. And whenever I got there, there was a lot of younger people there. So my dad kind of just stayed off into the corner because he was like, all right, these are all younger people. And he just kind of let me do my own thing. And whenever I got there, I met somebody, and she prayed over me and told me that the heartbreak was going to end. I'd never met her before in my life. I knew that I was heartbroken. I wanted to end my life at that point. I didn't have any direct plans to do so, but I just needed it to end. I just needed the hurt to end, the guilt of falling in love with somebody that didn't want me, because I'm like, why couldn't I be good enough for that person, stuff like that. And whenever she prayed over me, she said that the heartbreak would end. And from there on out, I always feel like I'm super close with God. I'm closest with God whenever I'm worshiping Him or praying. And that was kind of what happened that night. As I was praying, I was worshiping, I was crying. I cry a lot whenever I worship God. And from there forward, my life drastically has changed. I've stopped, partying. I've stopped my late nights. I'm, actively in my Bible. I'm actively praying more. And I'm even going to school to become a Christian counselor with a degree in mental health counseling. Like I said, I've always struggled with mental health issues. And I finally feel okay. I finally feel like I'm good and I'm okay, and that it does get better. It gets really, really better. And I said once before, I was like, I didn't realize how bad it truly was until I realized how much better it could get. And Jesus really, really brought that out. And honestly, I feel like if it wasn't for the Threshing Floor gathering, I don't know, maybe that person would have found me and still prophesied to me. I don't know. But if it wasn't for that gathering, I feel like my life really wouldn't have changed the way that it genuinely has.